Now, let's of course tell you that in Anambra State, in Anambra State, recently the governor actually did sign into law a recent bill as regards local government autonomy in the state. Now, this, of course, are issues that have been generating reactions recently because we know that the federal government did actually, through the Supreme Court, allow for local government autonomy, in the state. Now, Soludo, who recently signed this bill, actually said that the local government administration law in Awka, which aims to unleash the creative powers of local governments in the state and also encourage peer-to-peer learning and also promote optimal development outcomes. Now, let's just give you some key points as regards Governor Soludo's stance on this bill. Number one, absolute autonomy is impossible. According to the governor, he believes that granting absolute autonomy to local governments would lead to chaos and financial mismanagement. Also, it talks about collaboration and coordination, being key. Now, the governor actually advocates for cooperation between the state and local governments to ensure accountability and also prevent financial crisis. And finally, is looking at structured oversight being necessary, where the local government administration law creates multiple layers of oversight to prevent mismanagement and ensure transparency. And then finally, also empowering local governments, which of course, through this law, aims to unleash the creative powers of local governments and also encourage some sort of learning and optimal development outcomes. Well, joining me on the program at this time to discuss this is Justice Uhuegbu, is a legal practitioner, and also Sam Amadi is the director for the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, let me start off with you, Barrister Uhuegbu. Can you sort of give us, from a legal standpoint, breaking it down, we know that this law is a ruling from the Supreme Court, local government financial or fiscal autonomy, but are there boundaries to this?
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fine. Thank you very much. Actually, it's so unfortunate and it's laughable the way our politicians are making jest of our democracy just for selfish reasons and selfish gain. I'm surprised that somebody like Soludo could get to this point or this level. As far as I'm concerned, this is an act of selfishness. All these years and all this why that the local government has not been granted full autonomy, what has happened? What developments have come? Who have been mismanaging the money and the fund? Is it not the state? It's so unfortunate. But going straight to it, simplicity is that the Supreme Court has given a verdict for autonomy of local government. And once the Supreme Court makes on this verdict on any issue, it becomes law until that particular verdict is aside. So now, you cannot see the reason why many people call for true federalism. Now, are we even pressing true federalism? The answer is no, whether we like it or not. The Supreme Court is the highest arbiter in the country. And whatever decision that comes up becomes case law. It becomes law, binding in every citizen in the country. So I don't know where someone like Soludo is getting his own powers or authorities to say what he's saying or to create another issue or problem for the state. As far as I'm concerned, the governor of Anambra State is just trying to create problem for the state. So, and there's nothing he can do because the Supreme Court judgment, the Supreme Court verdict is not law. And it is the immense law until set aside by the same Supreme Court.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Sam Amadi into this conversation. Particularly from a political standpoint, what do you have to say to this?
Well, first, I think there are three things to clear here. the judicial supremacy is not in doubt. And it didn't look like Soludo contested that. So the Supreme Court, and he made a point in his speech, says, thankfully, the Supreme Court did not judicially nullify Section 7. Of course, they can't. So he concedes that what the Supreme Court decided cannot be allowed by executive action. But he thinks that the Supreme Court's decision, what they are doing in Anambra is not contract, that is only interpretation. So that's first point, that Soludo tries to navigate through the Supreme Court decision. The second point is the centrality of his case is that the Constitution, that is right constitutional interpretation. The Constitution establishes the local government system as a tier of government, but at the same time predicates it to being managed according to laws and rules made by the State House of Assembly. And in his view, it's one of those laws. So from a structural, textual perspective, I have made this argument even before Soludo started when the Supreme Court ruled. You know, our concept of federalism is clear because usually it's between two federating states and centers that have human coordinate powers. So you have the federal in the US defined, and the rest of the power belongs to the state. Or in Switzerland, federal canton, counties or canton. Or in China, Canada, federal regions. So but we have this nondescript structure where I have federal, states, local. It's not a problem. Maybe for good reason. Now, the notion of the local government 1974 decree, which is now back in the Constitution, is to bring development closer to the people through a rural development strategy. So it makes sense for an economic, political economic project. Now, Soludo is one of the smartest economists. So the point he's making really is when it comes to development, you need synergy, you need collaboration. You also need effectiveness. My view has been, because of the lack of democracy in the local level, where we can't control state governments, actually, local governments should be under the state, not under the federal. Because, take for example, Anambra with 21 local governments. Being the governor of Anambra basically means being chief executive of 21 local governments. So in a sense, you need a collaborative platform where these various, each local government cannot be driving a development agenda different from, especially Anambra is too small. Anambra is just like, in 2 hours, you could cover all of them. So some of those innovative economic thinking is this, and I'm not making a case for you, of course, we know that there's some cynical game being played here after the local government finance. That's another level. But from a conception, myself as a scholar of development, I could argue that the sense here is that if you push autonomy in the reckless sense, you are going to underserve development. But you have to have a structural way of check and balance. So if I was proposing to the federal government, you could have the constitutional amendment that allows federal government to federalize interventions and projects. For example, right into the law, how local government funds will be used, some benchmark for accountability, some focus on oversight, horizontal, vertical oversight. These are the key things that you need to do.
Okay.
Again, you still allow the states to have a scope of authority where those, for example, education, you have to have at a scale. For example, rural development, road network. You have to have some scale. But again, what the federal government wants to afford, which has become right, is that state governors swallow this fund. So there must be a way in which, through both federalized law and state law, you create benchmark, guardrails that streamline usage for development. So each governor has to either commit some percentage to social projects on a manner that you can review and hold accountable. Again, Okonjo-Iweala tried to do this under Obasanjo by pushing a federal law, that fiscal responsibility law, that allows the so-called joint account
Dr. Sam Amadi.
to be scrutinized. So, sorry, one last point. It's surprising that the Supreme Court struck down that law. The same Supreme Court made this decision, which in my view really is arguably, not on very strong ground. In my view, as a legal scholar, as a teacher, I can tell you that the Supreme Court under Obasanjo said, no, you cannot close into the joint account. The Supreme Court here seemed to probably, because of the mischief, gone away from that. But the point is, Soludo has some reasonable point, but we need to find a way to make sure that the local government funds get to the local government, but we cannot, totally hamstring the governors of the states. It would lead to underdevelopment. All
right. You really have said quite a number of things, but we need to go on a break. When we return, we would actually dig, a bit deep into what constitutes Section 7 of the Constitution and, the concerns around it. We'll be right back after this break. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ, and we are, of course, discussing matters arising around the local government autonomy in Anambra State, where the governor of the state actually did sign into law some sort of raised concerns as regards absolute autonomy for local governments, not just in the state, but even across the nation. I still have my guest with me, Barrister Justice Uhuegbu, and also Sam Amadi, the director for the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Now, let me just go straight to Section 7. Let me read part of it. Now, it says that the system of local government by democratically elected local government councils is under this Constitution guaranteed, and accordingly, the government of every state shall, that's subject to Section 8 of this Constitution, ensure the existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils. Now, by implication, Section 7 supports the push for local government autonomy, ensuring democratic governance at the grassroots, financial independence, clear delineation of powers and responsibilities. So I'm going to you, Barrister Uhuegbu. Now, looking at what Governor Soludo has done, are we seeing a situation whereby some of these governors, not just Governor Soludo right now, some of these governors are afraid that they may lose some sort of political control, in this local government. Hence, they are looking for means to still establish influence there.
I said something earlier about politicians. My friend is in the studio, or that just me said something. Well, he's talking like a politician or a political analyst he is. But you see, we're talking law here. The truth is this. When we begin to allow politicians to wedge the law the way it suits them, that is where we'll get problems. And that is why we're having problems today. If you remember what a footballer said today when he was having a chat with the lawyers and judges, he said something like this. And politicians are the problem we are having today in this country. It is not about that. It is just about them not controlling the allocation of the local governments again. Remember, before 1999, local governments has had full autonomy. And the local government has been working. In fact, the local government elections before 1999, it seems to even be the toughest because they are grassroots, they are close to the people. Now, after 1999, the governors came in a kangaroo thing, they call themselves the Governors Forum, and hijacked the local government allocation that comes from the federal government. Now, if we're talking about Section 7, can we look at Section 7, Section 6 of that Section 7? It says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the National Assembly shall make provisions for the statutory allocation of public funds of public revenue to local government councils in the federation. The law said that the states can make available allocation. And the answer is no. The law says, the Constitution, you see, people should stop misinterpreting the Constitution, especially people that are not lawyers. Look at Section 7 of the National Constitution as amended, subsection C. It is very clear that allocation shall be made by the National Assembly, which is the federal government. Now, some people now want to justify his act because the governors now feel that the money they are collecting in the name of joint accounts, they are collecting from the local government. They are now losing it. Now, it's a state, you're seeing federal allocation every month. Aside from that, a governor receives what is called security vote. What are they doing with all this money? Their eye is still on the local government, and that is why all the local governments are like that. And know about all this why. No development, no infrastructure, no nothing. And somebody wants to justify what Soludo is trying to do. He's not trying to give the other governors an idea of what to do. At the end of the day, they will now keep on collecting chaos in the country. What a shame. What a shame in this country. When you should be talking about how to move forward in this country, how to ameliorate the sufferings of the people, how governance will get to the grassroots. And the governor is coming up with this idea and saying there should be synergy. Before now, have there not been synergy? Since the states have been managing or hijacking the allocations of the federal government, they do not call it synergy. There's no correction, there's no monitoring, and all the rest. It is now that the Supreme Court has given this verdict, and he's talking about autonomy, that every governor now, or especially Soludo, is now coming to say that should be a synergy, that should be monitoring between the state government and the local government. Since Soludo entered as a governor, when did he conduct local government elections? Why is he bringing this up now? My brother, we are Nigerians, and we must tell ourselves the truth.
All right.
When the law is good, laws are made for the people. Laws are made for the betterment of the people. Professor, we see one of our legal jurists said that the law is to harmonize with the society. The implication of that is that as the society grows, the law goes alongside with the society. They have practiced it for years and seen that the local governments are dead. And kudos to the federal government.
All right.
Or to the Supreme Court.
All right, Barrister Uhuegbu, let me bring in Dr. Sam Amadi to respond or react to some of these issues and concerns. Dr. Sam, if you can hear me, please kindly unmute your device. It looks like you muted your device. Okay, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I said I'm not speaking as a politician, and I'm not. I'm speaking as a lawyer, a teacher of law, who has the ultimate degree in law, whose area is constitutional law and administrative law. Very simple. Supreme Court said, and this is law, you have to establish an elected democratic local government. Supreme Court says that the federal government should transfer the money to local governments. Now, the problem is what I call incomplete. First, Nigerian lawyers, sadly to say, oftentimes, we don't bother to read economics or read political science. Law is not just right. Go to the US, all over the world. Some of the lawyers have PhDs in economics. You understand how the law works. First, the National Assembly should have made law to streamline, that's what I'm saying, control. If you say, Section 7 says that the state's government should make law for the management of local government, it's a federal government should make law for appropriate allocation of revenue. So that law exists that says this is how much it should give to local government, percentage-wise. Now, what I'm saying is this. The crisis we have is a crisis of accountability. And this is a problem, my brother. Let's stop thinking that legalization and constitutionalization will solve the problem of our own cultural failure and failure of institutions and social capital. The governor there is guided by elected House of Assembly members. You allow the governor's state capture, just like the federal government today. Look at the National Assembly, for example. National Assembly sits there, rubber stamping everything for the executive, playing dead brain to everything. Now, very soon, what's the difference between National Assembly at the federal level and House of Assemblies? They're all captured. The solution to state capture is political activism. We have elected people whose job is to make law for the good of the state, including local government. To the point I'm making is not to support Soludo. Obviously, this is a power grab. Soludo, like all the governors, are looking for where to capture money. That's what it is. But I'm saying, as a lawyer, if they go to Supreme Court, they can argue very well that they have a power to make laws on how to manage. Now, the federal government can trump that now by making the law to the National Assembly, or amend the Constitution to provide basics beyond just saying guaranteed democratic governance, beyond saying revenue allocation. You streamline how the revenue will be applied. And I'm not saying, beyond our governors being thieves and all that, we have to think about development. And let me give an example. We'll talk about China. Chinese federalism is development-oriented. The Chinese national government grants to regions financial support, defines program, and gives financial incentives to regions. In fact, this is something studied. Without that kind of federalism, which is cooperative, which is co-governance, you won't get a kind of development. Development requires scale. That is why we had better outcome under the regional governments. You saw the Southeast Development Corporation taking the whole scale and building industrial development centers. So the Western Nigeria, Northern Nigeria. Today we have a structure that is not growth promoting. So I'm arguing that we can do two things. We can control the governors from misusing these funds through legal processes, which the National Assembly can make laws. At the same time, allow the governors to create developmental centers and network the local government into productive investment. I mean, look, okay, you dump 2 billion to a local government chairman in whatever, let's say Njikoka, who himself is not even properly elected. Look at the elections they have conducted, all shambolic. And then there's no, each of them have and now become, small billionaire running around with the money. What framework do you have?
Dr. Sam, are you suggesting, I'm sorry to interrupt your line of thought. Are you suggesting that some level of control by the state government will allow for accountability? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I'm saying that you use what you call perverse incentive in political economy, law and economics. The federal government can streamline. Okay, what do you want as a federal government? I want the money that goes to local government to be used for education, health, cottage industry. So the law will tell you processes for reporting. This is the money. By the way, let me give an example. If you look at the US, you talk about US, each of the municipalities are not controlled by the federal government. Each of them are independent. The state laws have granted them status and chartered them with procedures for management, and the mayors manage them in line with state laws and constitution. The point I'm making is that if we do our work well and create laws that are good enough, we can define use of this money, but at the same time, allow states to work as a unit so that the state governors can develop the program and each of the local government officers will implement it, and the funds will be see-through, accountable, reportable. We don't have legal frameworks, so our constitution cannot do the job of rules and regulation at the second tier.
All right, Dr. Sam Amadi, let me leave you for a moment. Let me bring in Barrister Uhuegbu. Now, I can see that you've been smiling. Do you think that accountability will be enhanced if there's some sort of control by the state government, and particularly also on the issue of accountability here? How do you think that can come about?
Yeah, what I'm asking is because all these things, I call them gimmicks and buraha. I am with the constitution here. The problem here is this. Soludo is crying foul now. Before you know it, one or two other governors will join him because they believe that money has been removed from their hands. If we are talking about controlling or trying to enhance the economy or monitor the finances, I ask a question. All these years that the governors has been collecting LGA money through the issue of state administrators, chapter committee, chairmen, and all the rest, what have they achieved? And the answer is nothing. And when he's talking about like synergy, so that they will control this and that, we know that the local government chairmen do not have immunity. They do not have immunity. Let us understand that. So what are we afraid of? What are we talking about? And you see, let me also say, I need to have time. I need to have time. If you listen to section 7 of the Constitution, you see that the next section says the system of the local government by democratically elected local government council is under this Constitution guaranteed. I want us to understand something there. And according to the government of any state, subject to section 8 of this Constitution, go to section 8 and see the provision there. Ensure their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils. But this section, looking at this section, it is even the duty of the state to even finance the local government more, aside from the allocation they are receiving from the federal government. Let's look at it that way. This is why when we talk law, we should talk law simplicity. If you look at the provisions of the law simplicity, and if you look at it, everything concerning the local government, it's not about the Senate, the National Assembly, and the federal government, and the Constitution. So what are we saying? As far as I'm concerned, Soludo is just coming to correct unnecessary issues or problems in this country.
All right, because we need to go.
Because like I said again, when he became governor, when he conduct local government election, just because the Supreme Court has made it mandatory that every state must conduct local government election, and any state without local government elected, democratically elected local government chairman will not receive allocation. Now, if we know that what most of them did was a sample, selection, but not election. But remember, and then the local government also remember, and like I said last time, that the law has immunity. They must account for any 1 naira that they got, because the essence of
all right. I'm sorry, Barrister Uhuegbu, we really need to go. We're pressed for time. I know that this issue, of course, requires more time. But in 30 seconds, Dr. Sam Amadi, let's just hear your final thoughts, and then we close the first segment of the show up and move to the next.
Thank you very much. Just to say clearly, what I'm saying is this, and as a leader of a school, I'm saying that you need to co-govern. It's called the theory of co-governance. I'm not saying they should allow. By the way, you said the government have no immunity. How many people have no immunity? How many governors have lost immunity who have been persecuted? It's a naive view, naivety to say, oh, because the government, no immunity. These governors, the Senate president was governor for 8 years. The president was governor for 8 years. The same EFCC says he was corrupt. Who has persecuted him? The issue is this. We are in a crisis, and it has made us become so sloganeering. You can't create development without being strategic in thinking. I'm saying that the local government should, also everywhere in the world, should have it under the control of state to an extent, and have it federalized to an extent. That's why I have the constitution, so that nobody will play with the funds. But you must create a process where the governors can use those funds. If the governors are bad, elect good governors. Don't stop using legal confusion and constitutional misnomer to solve a political problem. If you have bad governors, elect good ones. You must have a federalism that works in coherence. This approach of federalizing local government cannot work. You need to create a process where the federal government can dictate development, control financing, and allow the states to put together local governments to achieve development at scale. This is not a function of sloganeering. You have to engineer the process, and you have to elect people who can run it. You can't solve a political crisis of electing bad people, of no accountability at the local level, of no activity. We are here in Abuja. People have left the local area. Nobody is going there to challenge the governors. And then you want to use federalization of the local government to solve a problem of impunity. Even now, the federal government cannot even bring them together. They're doing a committee. But the same federal government with a court order is still doing a committee with the governors to find a way out. It's not everything's judgment. You have to use sense. They can't drive it because the two parties are all involved in seeking their self-interest. What I'm saying, a coherent system.
Dr. Sam, well, I think we might need to still extend this conversation. My producers are saying we might just need to still stay on, but we need to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll definitely pick up. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and of course we are looking at the fallout of the ruling by the Supreme Court as regards local government financial autonomy, particularly as regards developing issues in Anambra State. I still have with me my guest, Barrister Justice Uhuegbu, and also Dr. Sam Amadi, director, that's Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Let me go to Barrister Uhuegbu. Now, we are seeing, the law here, Section 7, and this, of course, is even beyond this issue right now, where you see, clearly stated in the Constitution, but different interpretations that seem to create a bit of confusion. So my question is this. Particularly in this section, are there gaps here that maybe politicians, are taking advantage of to reinterpret in their own way. Barrister Uhuegbu, are you there? I think we lost Barrister there. Let's direct the question to Dr. Sam Amadi. Are there lacunas in the Constitution that, have been taken advantage of in this regard?
I think there are gaps. Also, there's incoherence. You see, our constitution is so incoherent. And I give you an example. Like I said before, local governments evolve, and the autonomy derives from their law states give them. So here we have 3 levels of federal power, federal levels of tiers of government. In every other place, you have 2 tiers, very clear. In 1964, the 3 constitution, we had 2 tiers, the federal and the region. Smooth operation. So the regions created everything, county, local governments, municipalities, they're under the region. You have the regional governor and premier, you have the federal president and prime minister. Simplified. Now we have 3 levels. Local government, and I said before, I said it was caused by Decree number 6, 1974, 1976, that created a local government under the military as a site for economic development. Then that was carried into our constitution, 1999 constitution, 1999. So now we have 3 tiers of government. But at the same time, Section 7 is quoting is very clear. Whereas it says it must be established, and you can't remove a democratic elected local government. In fact, any local government is not elected democratically, it's not local government. But at the same time, the states have responsibility to provide. That's why each state has a local government law. That again, it talks about voting. They have to set up a state electoral commission. They have to also make sure that those who can vote for the House of Assembly can vote for the local government. So the point Soludo made, I think the fair point, is that the Constitution does not anticipate total independence. That is why the state, the House of Assembly, makes law for the local government. But at the same time, the Constitution anticipates that the local government will not be run as an appendage of the state. So the gap there is, in my view, not for the Constitution. It is for the National Assembly to make various laws in line with that Section 7.3, I think, or 2, that says they should make law for appropriation of financing, to not establish this criteria that any federalized federal fund going to local government must be used in this form. And again, as a matter of law, the federal government can attach conditions to federal grants, which is a federation fund.
All right.
But the states can now use their own revenue the way they want. So it is a matter of careful balancing.
Careful balancing. I'll pick it up from there, Dr. Sam Amadi. Let me bring in Barrister Uhuegbu into this. What's your take?
The truth is that, can you hear me very clear now?
Very clearly. You're good.
You see, my brother, what I'm laughing is because let us not misinterpret Section 7. If we want to look at Section 7, let's look at Section 7 of the Constitution holistically. And when you read Section 7 from 1, look at from 2, look at from 3, look at from 4, look at from 5. And from 6, I said before, from 6A and B, even B said that the House of Assembly of the state shall make provision for statutory allocations of public revenue to local government council within the state. Because the state system generates revenue. So it is also the duty of the state to make provision for public revenue generated from the state to local government. What are we talking about? You see, you asked a question earlier before the lesson we stopped. The truth is this: the problem we're having in this country today is also created by some of us. Some of us that call ourselves elites, some of us that call ourselves lawyers and all the rest. But that is the truth. Now, look at this. Some people have looked at this and conceived it and now go to sell the idea to Soludo to come and start correcting issues here. But it cannot work. The law is the law. Whether we like it or not, the Supreme Court is the highest arbiter. And once, like I said, and I repeat and I maintain, once the Supreme Court has given a judgment on any matter, it becomes law. And I don't see anything that runs inconsistency with the Supreme Court judgment with this constitution as it is. They are just trying to look for a loophole in order to achieve their selfish ends. Now, the question needs to be asking, even the politicians or whoever that is talking about Soludo and this and all, it should be asking this. The money that the federal government is giving allocation to state government, is it not enough for them? The idea of the states are generating, what are they using it for? Go to various states in the country today. Most of them are not doing anything. What are we talking about? Why should this local government issue be an issue? Before 1999, like I said before, local governments were very viable. My brother, we are Nigerians. Let us not use our hands to correct problems or to shoot ourselves on the leg.
All right. All right.
The professors, the people that call themselves, the most of the professors and the what do you call it, lecturers into our political domain and terrain. They were being used now as returning officers. That is when they killed elections in Nigeria. What are we saying? So, my brother, we should tell ourselves the truth as Bible. Let us not deceive the public.
All right, Barrister Uhuegbu. Now, gentlemen, we need to go on a break. When we return, we'll just take our final thoughts and wrap up. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television. Well, I understand that we are terribly pressed for time, but in 30 seconds, Dr. Sam Amadi, your take, your final thoughts. 30 seconds, please.
As somebody who understands development, I'm saying you can eat gum and still clap your hand. First, the real accountability is not by the Constitution. The Constitution sets up a framework of power. The National Assembly, look at it, says make law for the allocation to local government. They should make laws to define how those funds should be. And by the way, when I read back the Supreme Court was very clear. They did not pronounce on whether the states can make law that tries to commit to use of that fund. It points that the fund must go to local government. And I'm saying, if you look at Section 4, it talks about economic planning board. The local governments will participate in an economic planning board with other local governments. So my point is very simple, that we can achieve accountability through further legislation, but we must allow states to create a process in which those funds can be used in a manner that addresses development. And I think it's not about shouting or attacking people, basically about understanding how Constitution works with public policy.
All right, thank you.
Probably yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi. Now, Barrister Uhuegbu, 30 seconds, your final thoughts.
Let me say this, in avoidance of that, let me also this. The Constitution simplicity never at any point or any section give power to the state to collect or to regulate finances of the local government. Check the Constitution very well. Even the Section 7 we're reading did not provide that. Rather, if you look at it and read it holistically and impute meaning into it, and they apply the doctrine of a plain interpretation rule, what it even connotes is that the state should even further finance the local government. So let us be guided and not mislead people.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the program, gentlemen. Barrister Justice Uhuegbu, legal practitioner, and also Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Once again, thank you for your time on the program. Thank you. All right. On that note, we say a big thank you. Thank you for making it, a wow show today. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. That's News Central TV. You can also follow us across social media with the same name, News Central Television. You can follow me personally at Dakpo at Digboye. The opinion of our guest remains theirs and not that of News Central. Until I come your way again, good night.